Let's talk about what impact a state or federal charge will have on a person's ability to practice medicine. So can you talk about that and how you go about defending people and what the cost there is and the impact on the license?
The impact on someone's license, I'll frame this two different ways. If there's a federal conviction for Medicare fraud, and there's a range of statutes that are included in the Florida statute. If there is a conviction for one of those statutes, then there would probably be a revocation, and in all likelihood, the Board of Medicine will probably revoke someone's license. Not in all circumstances. There are certain mitigating factors, like depending on one's personal situation, that might preclude that. But the discipline would include certainly probably lengthy suspension. It would make one's employability certainly less than ultimate. And in terms of criminal liability, it's the amount of liability that someone has in that scenario is hard to fathom in a certain sense. Now, if one is being disciplined by the Florida Board of Medicine and prosecuted by the Department of Health, that will go to the NPDB, National Practitioner Data Bank. That will go, and they certainly will be on their record. They'll probably excluded from HHS programs. They'll be on the excluded list there. So there are any number of problems that this will bring up in terms of the amount of cost that this can incur. If an attorney who is competent to deal with these things, if it's a federal criminal case, it could be anywhere between, depending on the facts and what happens with the case, it could be anywhere between $50,000 and $250,000. It really depends on what the situation is and how bad the government wants to put its foot on someone's neck. In terms of what it costs to defend a license action, it's really not that dissimilar, because wow. the amount of work that goes into it is different, but you're easily going to spend like probably $100,000 defending one of these things with the Department of Health, especially if it goes all the way through the process, because the process of defending a claim like this in an administrative action in Florida is a very, very complicated, bizarre process that is extremely time intensive. And it's not a jury trial that one has. It's what's called a final hearing, and they're typically done remotely with an administrative law judge. But even if the judge makes a determination that there is no liability on the part of that person, one still has to go before the Board of Medicine, or if a judge makes a determination that there is a factual or a statutory violation, the judge makes a recommendation to the board in terms of what that could be. But the board sometimes will try to actually overturn that and promote more discipline. So it's a seemingly never-ending process. So if you're really, really defending one of these things, that they can be absolutely draining on people financially.
And I presume that this procedure is, for the most part, pretty similar across the United States. You've talked about what happens here in Florida, but I would presume that that's generally the process across the United States.
Administratively, they're very different from state to state, but you're going to be spending a tremendous amount of money if you're defending one of these things. What really all the way through the board actually making a determination about what discipline will be. They're very, very different from state to state, but the administrative system is, in my experience, considerably less straightforward than the criminal system, even in federal court, which is much more complex than that of state court.
So Out of curiosity, I'm wondering if a physician loses their license, could they become a physician's assistant, or are they just done and done?
They're pretty much done with healthcare, actually. When every now and then I'll have folks who are in this position, and sometimes people will think, well, I will relinquish my license, and I'll just go get licensure somewhere else. And my answer to that is no. That is literally the nuclear option. If one were to do that, you're essentially making the determination that you're not going to practice as a physician here in Florida or any other state, and you're not going to obtain licensure as a PA or get an ACN license, or the area critical need, or something of that license, or like some sort of like quasi medical license in some other state. Because if you're revoked, that's not going to happen. If you relinquish your license under circumstances where there either is, or you should know that there is an investigation, the boards consider that to be the equivalent of a disciplinary revocation.
Oh, okay.
So you're, in all likelihood, if there is a disciplinary revocation, or if there is a relinquishment under those circumstances, it goes to NPDB. That's not a secret. Everyone's going to know about it, and the chances of getting any kind of healthcare licensure anywhere in the United States is exceedingly slim.
So in closing, are there any tips that you could give physicians or executives who might want to try to do peer review work in an effort to, to maintain that sense of self-worth as being someone who's contributing to society, or even to combat depression that we see associated with disability?
My advice to anyone who is considering doing peer review, especially through an online platform, is you need to be very careful. You need to be very, again, think critically. My advice would be to discuss that decision with a qualified attorney before you make it. Talk with a criminal attorney, talk with a professional licensing attorney, talk with your DI attorney, but do not just go and do this because you think that you're going to make some quick money, and it'll be something that you may be able to keep you engaged, lift your spirits, et cetera. You probably need to find something else to achieve that, because the way these companies are set up very, very much lends itself to huge, both administrative, criminal, and potentially civil problems.
Wow. Well, thank you for this insightful interview today. If anyone has any further questions or needs the assistance of a great criminal attorney, we've got Jonathan's contact below. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time today and your expertise. And hopefully our clients have learned a lesson, and that is basically don't do peer review. But if you do want to do it, consult with an expert like Jonathan to really get the right information, so that you're ultimately making a decision that's not only right for you, but for your family and your continued disability benefits. So thanks.
Thank you, Nancy.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Great. Thank you.